yesterday?
We better, yeah. We actually have a much scaled back practice. Today will be considered a low day. The majority of it, we only have 3 team periods, so it's not going to be a long one. It's like an hour and 20-minute practice. Um, so I think, and some of it will be down in the red area. So, but we'll always be able to adjust. We got enough tight ends and backs and other positions to make it work.
You scaling back because of the injuries, or just because family night's coming up? You're kind of in the, or all the above.
It'd be a combination of both, but this was kind of what we had scheduled anyways, knowing that tomorrow night those guys will get after it pretty good.
What happened with Jaden Reed yesterday, Matt?
It's nothing long term, just his foot was bothering him. Yeah.
With Wicks,
I think it's from his cleats, to be honest with you.
Did you plan with Wicks just to have him get through some practice, or did he aggravate something?
Yeah, just, trying to get him back.
What have you thought of some of those young guys? Like, see, Cornelius had a productive day yesterday. Sam Brown's obviously had some days.
Yeah.
Hicks made a couple plays over the middle yesterday.
Yeah, all those guys have had moments where they have played and made plays, and that's what you're looking for. And just the more ops they get, the consistency of which they do that, I think is going to be important. And they'll get a ton of reps once we get into these preseason games. These guys are going to get a lot of time.
Musgrave seemed to make a couple big plays yesterday. Just how was he? What's been his approach this offseason? And you really haven't had those two guys healthy, him and Tucker, for a full season since you drafted him. How much are you looking forward to that possibility?
I mean, both those guys have unique skill sets, and I think they both can play at a really high level. So to be able to have the luxury of having those guys both available at the same time it just makes you more versatile as an offense. I'm a big believer in the more personnel groupings that you can have that a defense has to prepare for, the harder it's going to be. So we'd like to use multiple personnel groupings, 11, 12. We do a lot of the two-back stuff. And in the past, we've had to, I remember going back, we were talking about this the other day, when we had some injuries, when we were out there in 31 personnel with 3 halfbacks, if you remember right, with Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, and Tyler Irvin. So, you do what you got to do and adjust how you can, but in order to be able to do that, these guys got to show that they can handle it, mentally. So, we got a lot of options.
With Stackhouse at defensive tackle, what have you seen from him with the opportunities he's gotten?
Yeah, he's done a really nice job, and he's earning more and more opportunities. And I think at some point we're going to have to see him get in there, versus our ones.
What did you think of Jordan Morgan's work at left tackle yesterday? Pretty extensive kind of throughout the practice.
Yeah, I thought that he did a nice job. There's always going to be a couple plays that we just got to make sure that we clean up, and that's why you practice.
Man, speaking of versatility, so what have you started with Savion Williams? Like, how do you progress into a multi-role with him? What do you start with?
Well, I think it's just we got to get him out there. That's been the hardest thing, I would say, with him in regards to the off season and then into training camp, and just it's hard to get rolling when you're not available. So. But I think what he's been given, he's demonstrated that he knows what's going on. Especially, we've had him in a lot of the walkthrough settings, and he's done a nice job with that. Now it's just taking that walkthrough and doing it out there, in practice.
Do you start him as just a regular wideout, like you would with Golden, or has it been a little bit different?
It's pretty similar to that.
You guys, both you and Goody, talked about the need to improve your 4-man pass rush at the end of last season. I realize it's early, but what have you thought after a few pattern practices of what those guys are giving you?
Yeah, I think those guys are doing a nice job. DC's done a great job leading that group, and along with VO and Ball King. We're not allowed to call him Wendell anymore. So, but all those guys have done a nice job with the D-line, and I think what's shown up is just in some of the games that we ran, just how disruptive they can be, and we're getting pressure on the quarterback. Because there were multiple times yesterday where either Jordan's going to get hit or he can't step up in the pocket, and that's exactly what you want from your pass rush.
Speaking of the rush, there was a play where Jordan carried out the guitar fake, and he turns around and LVN's like right in his face. Is that something where I don't know what happened on the protection. I don't know why he was through there so cleanly, but is that something that you've got to like double down on as far as pre-snap, making sure that if you're carrying this out, you've got to be protected on the blind side?
Well, that's one of those where if they play it like that from a defensive standpoint, the quarterback's in a bad situation. So those guitar fakes are usually on the backside of a gap scheme where you're pulling people, you're hoping that this is a lot of film study goes into that, and if a guy jets up the field, I mean, you're in trouble. And I just watching his reaction, I thought he did everything he could possibly do. Whether or not that's good enough in the game, you don't really know, because we're constantly on these guys about staying away from the quarterback. But I thought his reaction was great. I thought Van Ness played it great. So it's just one of those deals. And if you see something on tape, though, you can't. I mean, it's a high-risk play that I don't think we're going to try to put our quarterbacks in those positions.
Matt, could you clarify with me? I think last week you said something like you don't want your like defensive ends in a bull rush. I mean,
Without pads on. Without pads.
Okay.
So,
Now,
yeah, now we got pads. Today will not be a padded practice. Today will be what we call shells. So they'll have those, like, whatever, those really light pads, if you will. But, yeah, when you don't have pads on, it's just hard to put guys in that position. So we're more interested in guys working edges on people and working pass rush moves. And then if you get held up, then you got to kind of like peel off.
When you're determining who's going to return kicks and punts, how much do you weigh the roles those guys play on offense and defense?
I mean, definitely plays a part in it, depending upon, their role in that particular phase. So.
Matt, when you guys moved into the new locker room, how did you guys decide who went where in the locker? Did you have anything to do with the positioning of guys?
Do you think we had something to do with it? Why, do you like where everybody is, Rob?
I was taking notes, trying to figure out if there was a pattern, but I couldn't come up with one. So.
Ideally, yeah, there's definitely a lot of thought that goes along in it, and we kind of went in there and just started placing people, and for the most part, I do kind of like the format of having an offensive player next to a defensive player. I just think you get around. You want guys to get around people other than what's on their side of the ball or within their position room. So there's definitely some strategy that goes along in that. And then obviously, having a 90-man roster, and I think there's 81 lockers in there, I believe. Things will change once we get to the 70-man roster.
Anything with putting a young guy next to a veteran, or is that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Matt, going back to the ball king thing, it's clear that your guys have really bought into that. I'm curious why it's, the NFL is always about you get what you emphasize, so you're obviously emphasizing that thing about getting more fumbles or takeaways. But why is it important to be creative about it to get that buy-in?
Well, I just think if you are entertaining in a meeting, I think you're going to get guys' attention a lot more. So, obviously, I mean, yeah, we're serious about it, but it's kind of lighthearted at the same time. And I think the guys are enjoying those presentations, and Ball King's done a heck of a job.
Matt, what's your gut feel on how the players' legs are going into Saturday, and then how does that affect what you'll do next week?
Yeah, I would say that guys are probably pretty sore right now and tired, and that's just the nature of it. And you got to be, I think, in order to be able to do accomplish hard things, you got to do hard things. So training camp's not meant to be easy, and they got to grind through, and hopefully we can callous these guys up a little bit.
Hey, Matt, Spoon asked you last week about that touchdown
where he kind of eluded the rush and then hit licks down the field. Is that subtle movement stuff in the pocket, is that something Jordan did going back to looking at him at Utah State? Or is that something you've seen him develop, and how important of a piece of his game is that?
Yeah, I think that's something that, certainly experience plays a part of it, and we emphasize it and do drill work, and I think that's, the good ones know how to manipulate the pocket in their favor and be able to continue to remain a passer and throw the ball down the field. So that's definitely been a point of emphasis, and I think one thing that I've seen from him over especially the last few practices is he is moving around pretty well, and I think he's playing pretty decisive, and I think that's he's going to continue to improve.
Two more, please.
Do you have anything live planned for Saturday in terms of tackling?
Maybe you'll just have to find out. You going to come?
Not unless you do live tackling.
Okay. Well, you know what? For you, Spoon, mark it down. We'll do some live tackling right at the end. So you got to stay the whole time.
Last period.
It is actually scheduled for the last period. So
Getting back to, it has to be tough to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Is that what you added today, or was today always going to be a walkthrough, just not for the public? Because originally this wasn't a public day.
no, it kind of goes back to initially what we were going to do. The format of, I can't remember, we were going to do 2 practices and then a day off and then have a block of 4 or whatever. Instead, we thought it would be better to go 3 and 3, or 3 sets of 3.
Good. Thank you.
All right, guys, thanks. Have a good one.